I am Josh. I'm a developer advocate at Zoom. Today I'm joined by Andrew from UserZoom. We're not related.
Yeah.
Zoom, UserZoom. But we wanted to talk today about building a video platform, and trust us, you don't want to do it. So Andrew's going to go over his use case and their product and kind of the decisions that they came to as far as whether to buy a product or build it. And then I'll go over the platform and some of its features, and then we'll have a demo from UserZoom, and then we'll have some Q&A at the end. So,
Great.
Andrew?
Thanks, Josh. Okay, so first of all, thanks a lot for attending our session. Really appreciate stopping in. So we realize that there's a lot of different perspectives that come to the overall Zoom conference, and so basically there's a lot of different ways that you can use video conferencing. And just to kind of before we dive into our particular use case, just want to set the context. So as the head of product at UserZoom, which we'll talk about what we are and what we do in a minute. We use Zoom basically for video conferencing. So amongst our teams, we do collaboration amongst ourselves with our customers, but that's not really what we're going to talk about here today. What we're basically talking about is a little bit of a build versus buy situation. So we're a SaaS software company that is looking to basically achieve successful projects and do that quickly in a successful way. And that always comes down to the situation: how can we do things the most successfully? And sometimes it's a matter of looking towards third-party decisions and leveraging third-party technologies, which can make a lot more sense. So we'll kind of walk through a little bit of a story and a use case of what brought us here. And the bigger challenge for us as well is that it's not just about deploying projects successfully, but as you probably all have in your roles and within your organization, there's a lot of pressures from your customers and maybe to your executives or even board members that want to see things done quickly, but that doesn't lower the bar for the overall quality. So that's definitely something that we struggle with on an ongoing basis. So before we get into the actual use case, I'll just kind of quickly tell a little bit of a scenario about who we are at UserZoom and kind of set the context of how we got involved with Zoom and the Zoom developer platform. So really at UserZoom, we're a beneficiary of what we would call the design-driven culture. And so a lot of this is we've been promoting for a long time the need to build successful products, and those products could be software products or SaaS solutions. It could be hardware products, but the benefit of getting user feedback along the way and making sure that we're building products that have superior user experiences, and that's been kind of known within organizations and research teams within organizations for a long time. But more recently, because of the acceleration of what we call sometimes the Steve Jobs effect, of going back to the early days of Apple, but now you see the new release of the iPhone and even Samsung and other products, and there's just a general expectation from everybody that the product's not just going to work, but it's actually going to have a great user experience. And if it doesn't have a great user experience, it's really not going to be something that is seen as successful. And we also see that we're a beneficiary of also that going in from consumer products over to business applications as well. So all of us use business applications, and if those applications have poor user experiences, chances are we're either not going to purchase them or we're not going to renew, or we're going to go elsewhere. So what we do at UserZoom is that we're really provide to our customers the one-stop place to get usability feedback. So to really quickly build studies and build from either prototypes or task-based studies that we can find the right participants and users that those studies can be sent to. They can take those studies, and then that information comes back in terms of reports and analytics that we then derive into the different aspects of the development process to make sure that we're constantly iterating and making sure that user feedback is guiding the way. And then we do that in a couple different ways. I mean, we started out, like I mentioned, in UX research, which is, a lot of methodologies and very specific ways of building tests. So we have a lot of things like user experience measurement, information architecture, usability testing. But the main point is that throughout this product lifecycle, all the way from research all the way to release, that we provide the right mechanisms and the right testing so that we can insert the right feedback at the right time, testing things like prototypes, mobile, and desktop. So what does that have to do with Zoom and video conferencing? So basically, what we have built our business on today is the concept of helping organizations that started out doing UX research, and you're probably familiar, seen this if you're not directly involved with it, of advanced researchers with advanced degrees coming in and kind of small teams within even very large organizations like PayPal, Facebook, and Google, that are, bring customers in, they sit them down within the lab. There's a researcher that might sit next to the participant and ask them questions about the new products to get feedback. There might be a one-way mirror, so people behind the mirror kind of observing from behind the scenes. And that's typically how, even today, a lot of research is done. But as you can imagine, that takes a lot of time to find those participants, to bring them in, and with the rigors and now the need across a lot of different development teams and product teams to get more feedback, there's really not the luxury of having that in-person research. So that's where a lot of our customers have been using unmoderated remote usability testing. So if you see an app here, UserZoom would basically go and deploy an SDK or have a browser plugin within the desktop, and have like a task-based test to say if you see this dog Sprocket or Rocket, find and navigate to the animal profile, and then it's recording in that process voice interaction where you're clicking, and it might be another kind of test that is a timeout test that says try to do something within 10 seconds, and what have you observed? Give you feedback. And the point is that we, from a remote perspective, are capturing that feedback so we can provide through analytics and do it in a fast and agile way. But the opportunity that we found recently is that because our customers are coming from the aspect of being comfortable with in-person usability testing and providing or asking those follow-up questions, that there's a lot of adoption of this remote unmoderated. But a lot of our customers are asking for, hey, what if we want to have a remote test and people who are doing this on their mobile app or maybe in a browser plugin, we'd like to join, and maybe if they're clicking a certain area or they're responding a certain way, we'd like to maybe ask some follow-up questions. And so that's where we started to explore and see this opportunity, and saw that there's a real big opportunity to add some video conferencing and some collaboration aspects within our solutions to provide that moderated aspect. And as a software company, our first inclination is, hey, we have a development team, we have a product team, we have a design team. Why don't we just build this ourselves? I mean, we pretty much build our application, everything that we do. But as we started to dive into this, we really saw that there's a lot to video conferencing. Obviously, there's the join meeting logistics, there's the video and recording, there's all different types of audio, how you would join, the notifications, and obviously Zoom has built a business around just this aspect and this technology, and it's definitely something that we knew that we really couldn't take on ourselves. So we started to get serious about looking for third-party solutions, and even more so, obviously that there's a lot of needs to kind of bring this to market fast. We have limited resources internally. We're already working on our full roadmap of projects. So this would be something that would just really be above and beyond which we'll be able to really accomplish internally. So we really started to evaluate different types of third-party video conferencing solutions. And what's the product team and the development team, what we really found is that there's a couple, really two different options here. There's the full conferencing solutions, which are the names that were brought up in all the keynotes today, along with Zoom and WebEx and GoToMeeting. And really the advantage here is really that brand recognition to our customers, that when they hear that we're partnering with these companies, that they're confident that it's a reputable solution, there's security, there's encryption, all the things that they care about. There's a streamlined end-to-end user experience. There's flexible pricing that we can leverage, but the problem is that most of these solutions lack integration to really kind of embed within within our application or build an integrated user experience. Then you have the things, the possibilities on the developer integration platforms, and they provide a lot of really the options to integrate for developers. I mean, you have the optimized APIs, so you have all the calls for very specific features and capabilities that you want to call at specific times within your application. There's the documented integration so that we can really figure out how to do this on our own. When we do need some help, there's good developer support. But when we really dived in there, we saw that there would be a lot more effort on our side to really build that optimized and streamlined user experience that we're looking for. So that's when we found that really kind of working with Zoom and reaching out with Zoom is that they kind of started out on this full video conferencing solution. That's the bread and butter. But recently, which Josh is going to talk about, deployed this developer platform, which opens up all these development and integration aspects for companies to really start integrating Zoom and embed it into, really white label it into your application. So before I pass this off to Josh to talk a little bit more about the actual developer kit, and then Presh is going to show a little bit of a quick demo of what we did, I'll just kind of go through a little scenario of how we started working with Zoom. So first we established contact. We just so happened that our CEO knew Eric and just kind of reached out directly to Eric and got us in touch with the right people. We presented our offering, identified our goals to Taya, who manages Josh's team as the head of the development platform. And then identified that this is really something that really can provide a lot of opportunities for us. And then so Zoom quickly for us opened up and set up an API account, offered introduced the support so we could start working. And then once we were ready to move forward, which wasn't right away because we had things we were working on with our roadmap, but once we were ready to move forward, we were able to put together a POC fairly quickly. I mean, once our development team was able to focus on this, we actually put together a concept and leveraged the APIs in a matter of a sprint, which for us is about 2 weeks, just to kind of show the functionality working together. It wasn't optimized, obviously a real solution, but really validated that this is something that we could leverage and build. And then from there, we moved forward. The business terms started talking about long-term pricing plans and how this would look for how we could sell it to our customers. And what really kind of sold us on this was just looking at I think on Eric's presentation this morning of that goal of just make sure the pricing is fair as they kind of Zoom kind of grew as a company. That's very clear even for this developer platform, is that something that we can just kind of embed in the cost of our price of our solution. But it's really negligible compared to anything we could do on our own for sure. And then we got serious and got our designers on this and started to build this end-to-end prototyping. Paresh is going to talk about that a little more. Leverage the APIs to support and build a good UX. And then what we're doing is we're targeting an agile terms, a minimal delightful product, which is really a phase 1 towards November of this year. And the other opportunity is that we have the ability to work with co-marketing opportunities with Zoom. So example is this presentation here. Also customer updates when we're ready to launch this to our customer base to leverage maybe a press release or work with Zoom to do that and vice versa. So that's the story of how we've got here, and I'll pass this off to Josh to go a little more about the developer platform.
Thanks, Andrew. So just to echo what Andrew said and how it's really hard to build a video platform. You have the join meeting protocols and all that stuff that you have to worry about. And the thing about the Zoom developer platform is that you can just plug it into your existing application. Andrew showed us one use case. Oops, skipped a slide. We have support for Android, iOS, Mac, Windows SDKs, so you can plug the Zoom client into your applications. We also have REST APIs. Those are for managing the pre-meeting stuff, so scheduling meetings, scheduling webinars. You can do post-meeting stuff, get reports, who was in the meeting, and stuff like that. the next slide was about use cases. One of the most popular use case we have is telehealth right now. There's a lot of software vendors right now that want to do this patient-to-doctor video conferencing or doctor to specialist. A lot of this is, has to be secure, and there's a thing called HIPAA compliance, and we do all of that stuff. One of the major use cases is they like to have this video file, because we have cloud recording. So a doctor meets with a patient, that session is recorded, and it can be attached to their electronic medical record. So the next doctor that comes along, instead of just reading the previous doctor's notes, can actually watch that session and get the actual interaction between the doctor and patient, and kind of a picture is worth 1,000 words, and video is worth 1,000 pictures type of thing. So it's more robust for the doctor that follows up, that they can watch that session. Another use case is education. Really, we saw this start off as just like the consumer product, right? A teacher having a class session to students, but it's actually had rapid growth in the platform section. A lot of these universities are taking our APIs and building integrations into their learning management systems, like Blackboard is a very popular one. Boston University built an integration into Blackboard. They added office hours for teachers. So within Blackboard, students have their login, teachers have their login. A teacher can present a schedule of when I'm going to be available, and students can simply click a button and join that teacher's office hours meetings and get questions answered for homework and stuff like that. Another use case is finance. The mortgage industry is very competitive, so they like to move quickly. So a consumer can use a bank's mobile app, fill out a credit application for a mortgage loan, hit submit, takes a minute to process, and a bank can determine instantly, like, hey, this is a good match, and present the user with a button that says, talk to a specialist right now, without ever leaving that app. The Zoom is built into that bank's mobile app using our SDKs, as opposed to click a button, go to the App Store, download this app, and that whole process. So with the Zoom platform, the question isn't what can you build, but it's what will you build. We've seen those are three of our most common use cases. Andrew's use cases is one of those special use cases where we would have never thought of that, user research and stuff like that. The low-hanging fruit is telehealth and education and finance and the big brands. So the question is, what will you build? And hopefully you guys can answer that after we see a demo from Paresh. You have slides, right?
Awesome. Thanks, Josh and Andrew. So my name is Paresh Wakharia. I'm a director of product at UserZoom, part of Andrew's team, and I'm leading the product design and development of this integration with UserZoom. So before I sort of give you guys a demo, I wanted to just quickly talk about our use case here so that you know how that integration is going to work. So like Andrew said, the way UserZoom started was unmoderated usability testing, as we call it, where think of a researcher, and currently our customers like Facebook, Google, Salesforce, Cisco, they essentially use our platform to create a usability test. Now, a usability test, as maybe some of you guys have already seen behind the mirror, where there is a researcher interacting with the participant, asking them questions. So in this case, think of a use case where maybe Facebook wants to test how to create an album or a picture album. They can create a usability test around that with a prototype that they might have, or even the live site. So it might have certain questions, or it might have certain tasks. So in this case, the task might be create an album, and there might be few follow-up questions. And then they launch it. They launch it to a certain pool of participants, and then when the participants get that in their email or however they access this study or this test, they sort of complete the test on their own. So there is not an interaction happening between the researcher and the participant. And then the researcher gets the findings, they get the metrics, they get the feedback, and they review it. So obviously, in case of unmoderated, there is not a direct interaction happening between the researcher and the participant. So they are sort of taking it asynchronously as time permits, and as depending on how much time it takes. They're not really communicating with each other. It has its merits as well, because you could do this with a very large sample size, with a large group of people, and get feedback. But from time to time, there is a need to talk to the person in a live sort of an environment. In this case, what we call this is a moderated usability testing, where a researcher is talking to the participant live. So there is definitely a real-time audio camera interaction. There is a semi-structured walkthrough of the screen as the participant goes through, let's say, the Facebook use case of creating an album, whether it is on a browser or on the mobile phone. And all this interaction is being video recorded so that the researcher could go back and look at what the feedback was and maybe create certain clips that they can share in order to make more enhancements. So for this use case, we were exploring options to see how that interaction can be facilitated. So the problem statement for us was we needed an easy-to-use integrated conferencing solution that allows for this. We also wanted to make sure that the participant experiences, user experience is very streamlined, because if it is very complicated for them to join this conference and then go through this experience of how they would create a Facebook photo album, it would be pretty complicated for them to do that. They're not going to be able to do that. And then the last most important problem statement that we had was to be able to store this video within UserZoom. So currently we do record videos for the unmoderated portion, but we also wanted to record videos for the moderated interaction that is happening. So this was sort of our problem statement when we approached Zoom, and we were pretty delighted with what Zoom had to offer. So from the two personas that we have, the moderator and the participant, for the moderator, we needed a way for them to schedule these sessions, and they could do 8 or 10 in a week if they wanted to. And then they would join and moderate the session. So they would interact with the participant where their audio's camera and screen is being recorded. And then they would go back to UserZoom to watch these videos. So that was sort of the moderator. And in terms of the participant, they get invited to a study like this, a test like this, where they join and then they are sharing their audio, camera feedback and their screen as well. And this whole interaction is being recorded. So that's just a quick review of what we wanted. So now let's look at what the demo is. So this is still in design phase right now, and we are actually developing it for a November release. But so we will just quickly show you some designs and the flow of how that integration is working. So this is currently UserZoom. This is the platform that our customers use to create these tests or studies. And the beauty of this solution, like Andrew said, our vision is sort of be the one-stop shop for all kinds of research studies that are happening. In this case, they're able to create an unmoderated study or a moderated study all in one place together. So in this case, they have created a very simple setup of this moderated session that they would like to conduct with their participants. And when they're ready, they basically come in within UserZoom and click on Start an Instant Session. And when they do that, they can also create time slots for future. So in this case, they can specify the date, time, and some other things in order for them to keep track of the schedule, because they might do 8, 10, 15, 20 of these. But when they're ready, all they need to do is, from the moderator standpoint, they just click on the start session. The participant link is also made available to them, so they can share that link with whoever is going to be participating in the session. But once they click on that start session, they go through the Zoom installation. This is a one-time process where they install the Zoom client, and as soon as they have installed it, they get directed to that particular conference that is being scheduled. So here the moderator has joined the Zoom conference. From within UserZoom, they were able to initiate this session. And once they join, they get a notification or alert that the participant has also joined the conference. They have the option to admit them into the conference when they are ready. So this is something like an extra check that we added with Zoom's help to be able to let the moderator manage the session. So here, the participant has joined the session. So now both the moderator and the participant are in a session. And then from here, the participant can share their screen. And here now the participant has gone to the browser window, and maybe they are testing Nordstrom website or providing feedback on any product that they would want to provide feedback on. There is some capability that we offer within the browser that tracks all their interaction and also records a separate video through us as well. But this whole interaction is being recorded by default. So that's something that we learned is a lot of our customers forget to record something like this. And so then they miss some valuable feedback. So we were able to record by default all the sessions as they progress and as they interact with each other. The one other very important benefit of the integration that we had was the video. It's stored in the cloud or is available as an MP4 that can be saved to the machine. But we were able to embed the Zoom video within UserZoom platform. So this Zoom video, this entire video, let's say an hour-long video, can be viewed within UserZoom, and they can create clips. Is something that we have, a capability that we have. We were able to sort of embed the video within UserZoom, and they can create clips on any interesting moments that they might have discussed with their participants, or maybe there were some screen interactions or issues that they noticed. They could create those clips. So this was sort of a big benefit that we had, where the video was, we were able to embed that and without having to leave the UserZoom platform and keep our researchers within the platform. So in summary, there were several benefits of working with UserZoom, but the streamlined client installation, it was very simple to sort of get that installation done just once. And from that point onward, it's a one-click experience to start the meeting right from UserZoom. The Zoom account creation was not required because we were able to sort of do that behind the scenes. So there was not a lot of friction involved in the process. The conferencing session could be initiated within the UserZoom. There was very easy sharing of screen, audio, and camera, which all of you have probably seen already. And the storage and ability to play the Zoom video from within UserZoom, like I showed. The schedule management, being able to create many of these sessions or meetings, and then being able to track the usage and the minutes so that we can work that with our customers, being able to keep track of all their usage. So those are some of the benefits that we had. But clearly Zoom was a solution that even our customers like. So we did many reviews with our customers, and they really like the user experience as well as the ease of use throughout the demo that I just showed. So they really like that. So we're looking forward to launching this soon in November. So thank you very much to Josh and Andrew, and I'll hand it over to you.
And then that opens it up for any questions. I just want to highlight that UserZoom is a user experience platform, very key on user experience, and they chose Zoom because of their user experience.
That's right. Not just because of the name.
Yeah,
For sure,
yeah, that played a little bit of it probably. Yes.
So updates on a digital client, they download the client once, but updates to the Pro product, how will you handle that? Will you just prompt them for an update and they click update?
And then I'm just going to repeat that for the recording. The question was about the client updates and how that works. The Zoom client.
Correct.
So any subsequent client updates are automatically prompted by Zoom. And Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, but basically, as and when they launch, first time install is streamlined, and from there on, it's only a one-click install. But if there are new version updates to the client, they are prompted by Zoom. So that is not something that UserZoom has to integrate or worry about. So anytime there is a new client update, Zoom takes care of that.
Yeah, UserZoom is actually using the Zoom client. They didn't build a custom client and use their SDK. So it's the same as pretty much any other application. When there's an update, it'll get a notification. There's a new version, and download the new Zoom client.
My second question, how did you accomplish the video clips within the Zoom client?
So the video clips is something that we had within our platform. So that's not something that Zoom offers currently, but maybe in the future. But the being able to create clips on our unmoderated videos is something that we already have. So we basically just embedded the video and made the same features and functionality where you can do marks, tags, clips, take notes, all of that available for the Zoom video as well. So it's an infrastructure that we already had in place.
2 videos?
Correct, exactly. So in this case, what we're doing is we essentially have the end-to-end video for 1 hour with Zoom. This is working.
It is.
So we have the whole 1 hour video, but then we also record certain snippets of video throughout the study as it happens. The way we break it down is by tasks. Let's say upload an album is one task and post a profile picture is another. We are able to detect each of these individual tasks. So for our customers, it's a benefit when they see the whole end-to-end video from Zoom, as well as the broken up individual tasks that we create.
So are you actually creating separate clips, or are you just using time code to isolate the part of the video that
It's based on time, as well as when the study is actually built, there could be many tasks that the researcher creates. So based on their interaction with the browser, we are able to detect one task starts and ends, and we are able to provide them a pre-created task clip, so to speak. But the clip that I think you are asking about, they can create any further clips also, if they want, on the clips that we provide. So what we are giving is pre-created, but they could create a much smaller clip from that, which is something that we've built within our platform.
And that's using the Zoom video recording, the video. So basically, as a platform, we provide you with a video, and then you can add features on top of it.
That's right.
So you're pulling the video down.
Correct.
Yeah.
The moderator looks at it, assigns, I guess, these tasks that go back to like unit testing, line items, right?
Correct.
For this 5 things or whatever.
Yep.
And then it goes back, and it goes back into your system, and it's chopped up. It doesn't get done automatically, or it's on the back end, completely separate from Zoom.
Yes, it's completely separate from Zoom. On our backend, we basically can create that. Yeah.
So you've got a whole workflow that you built. I'm assuming that you've got a workflow that you built. I'm assuming that that's not all Zoom, that you use some platform or open source solution to build your workflow, and you pulled Zoom's API into it for the video components. Can you talk
Yeah.
more about this expertise that you needed and what route you took?
Yeah. So what you saw, the screenshots, the initial ones where you essentially initiate Zoom, that's our platform. That's something that we have, which is it's a SaaS platform. So we obviously have our own engineering that is working on building our own platform. The Zoom part came in when we wanted to essentially spawn a conference session from within our platform. So it definitely, integration requires the product design and engineering, to build the integration, but the base platform also is something that is homegrown. That's something that we've built.
So we really streamlined because of time, just focusing on the launching of a moderated study. We didn't do a full UserZoom demo, so it's a full SaaS platform client, or SaaS basically login to a dashboard. We basically provide our customers. It's a pretty robust offering to create tests, to categorize their tests, using different types of methods, identifying the participants that you want to capture, the demographics of those participants, automatically launching those participants, bringing the study. So all that is, wasn't seen here, but what we were just focusing on was really the launching of the actual test and then showing the integration with Zoom to add that moderated capability on top of it.
So just to clarify on UserZoom,
Yeah.
you're making that platform available for other organizations, researchers, or you're offering a sort of turnkey?
So UserZoom is a SaaS provider. So yeah, we have. I mean, we started out actually a lot of large enterprises because that's where UX research teams kind of originated from. So to large banks from like Capital One to to JP Morgan Chase to like Facebook, Google, that basically leverage our solution. So we provide it as a SaaS application to those customers. Yeah.
So they're researchers.
The researchers, but also kind of what I was talking about at the beginning is that what we're seeing is that what we're kind of benefiting from the growth is that not just researchers are doing usability testing, but it's going into design teams, into product teams, even marketing teams that are building websites and needing to get kind of constant feedback. The way we separate is really that there's a lot of digital analytics focused on live applications right now, with especially in the marketing side and and performance metrics. What we're focusing on, there's a big focus on, is more before you launch the application, the prototyping, and getting the user experience right before you actually launch it live. And that's really where we provide our services and offerings for that part.
If somebody wanted to use your platform just to do qualitative research and do interviews or mountains, they could do that.
Absolutely, yeah.
It doesn't have to be technical.
Yeah, that's actually you kind of go right into one of our biggest dynamics is that we have these researchers that are, as I mentioned, like advanced degrees. They do use very specific methodologies for usability testing, but the newer kind of personas in terms of designers and product managers, they just want to kind of set up a quick test. Here's a website or a prototype, send it out to a participant, give me like 5 responses and just tell me some feedback so I can just quickly iterate and move forward. So we have really these kind of we built in our UX redesign kind of 2 different engagement points where if you're an advanced user, you can, it's like the TurboTax model. If you're if you're an accountant and you want the advanced capabilities, you can go this route. If you the designer or just want to do a quick test, you take more the wizard guided approach, I would say. So yeah. Question?
I guess maybe a question more for Josh. So, and maybe you addressed this early on, and if so, you can say check out the video or something. I apologize for being late, but I was just wondering, like, what kind of integrations as far as with the application itself. So most of the case studies I saw, Zoom looked like Zoom, and is that like what types of things you're like? Well, for example, you're not going to be able to do this, this, and this, and this. What would be some things that are kind of outside the box of what you would really feel comfortable with? Somebody totally using the core technology, but making it look something totally different, not even recognizable as Zoom, for example.
Okay.
Your thoughts on that?
So to summarize, what can you do with Zoom? What's the recommended approach, and what's just far-fetched, right?
Yeah.
So really the SDKs provide you the ability to add the Zoom client into your application, right? Now, with the SDKs, going the SDK approach, you can customize the interface of the Zoom client. You can hide buttons, you can hide title bars, you can hide stuff. But it really is the Zoom client, right? So a lot of requests are, I just want the video feed and I want to put it into this video window. That's not really the intent right now. It's really, I want to click a button and launch the Zoom client within my app so that they don't, they're not being sent to the App Store to download Zoom and then it's done in Zoom. which is an approach you can take as well. So you just, you click a button, join, and then the browser handles the custom URL schema and tells it to download Zoom and da-da-da. But you can have it in your app, right? So like an example is a bank, right? They want to have a session with a mortgage specialist and a customer that just filled out an application. Instead of having them do all this other stuff of downloading another app to participate in stuff, they can join that session with inside the app.
What's the advantage of one way or the other?
The advantage of one way or the other is development cost. So if you want to build, if you already have, iOS and Android developers, it's much easier to just put it into your app. But if you're a web developer, you want to kind of just use the Zoom clients. Yeah. So from your web page, your mobile web page, it would launch a browser window which has the Zoom meeting protocol, which then tells the OS, like, hey, I want you to open this app with it. And then the OS handles it from there. Like, if it's already installed, it'll open it. If it goes to the App Store or stuff like that. The benefits is just I guess, the user experience. Do you want them leaving your app? Do you want them in your app? There's options, through a higher level integration to white label it so it doesn't have the Powered by Zoom logo and stuff like that. So you can get much more customization through the SDK. Otherwise, it's the Zoom client. Okay. The question is there a collection of use cases? Not currently. We're working on that. We just redesigned the developer site, so now it's developer.zoom.us, and we're working on getting some user stories. UserZooms will be one of the first, and we'll have this video embedded in there and stuff. But we're working on, the marketing of the platform. Yes.
On the Zoom APIs, how granular do you have to be when you're using it? Is it something that says, like, start this audio device, start this video device, and things like that? Or is it literally just open video or Zoom and open the video stuff?
Okay, so how complicated is using the Zoom APIs? It's not low level, so it's not like get audio context, get video context, stuff like that. That's the beauty of using it that way with the Zoom client. The Zoom client does all that for you. So in UserZoom's example, they want to just be able to have a meeting and host a session between two people. So through the APIs, they create a meeting, get a unique meeting ID, and present that to moderators and participants. And so then they'll just click that link, and then the browser kind of triggers the rest of the effect, whether the client's already installed or they need to download it. Or
Do you want to embed it into your own application? Do you do the same methods, or is it more granular that you're going to have to go in there and choose the audios?
Very similar. So with the SDKs, it's that, we've done all the heavy lifting. Like, so the Zoom client handles, picking the camera and the, whether it's front-facing camera, back-facing camera, the microphone, is it a Bluetooth device? It kind of is handled by the OS, and the developer doesn't have to trigger that stuff. Now, there are methods that you can, kind of help that along if you want. You can detect which device is being used, and you can get more information in the SDKs for the in-meeting experience. So the SDKs, I guess to clarify, the APIs are really for pre-meeting and after-meeting experiences, so scheduling, getting reports and stuff, and then the SDK is for the in-meeting experience. So if you want more information about the meeting itself, you want to use the SDKs, because if you just use the Zoom client, it's on our stuff. We have that information. But if you're wanting to know, like, when a person joins a meeting, when a person who's currently in the meeting, who's participating, you would have to use the SDKs to get that in-meeting experience information and stuff.
Do you have to use a combination of APIs at the beginning of it to generate the meeting rooms, the schedule, and
So it's a big architectural design question, right? How much work you want to do on that, scheduling of meetings and stuff like that. You could do that all within your app using the APIs. But there's also, within the SDKs, there's create meeting methods and stuff that are kind of like a black box of, you create the meeting, you don't know what API or endpoint it's hitting, but there's a create meeting method that you pass some parameters to, and then you'll get a meeting back within that scope, right, of your application.
Integrating that you need to with the APIs, but you don't have to when it's an SDK.
Right.
How is the quality versus other offerings like Twilio's video API?
I don't have any. The question is comparing it to another platform's video APIs and stuff like that. Or as the video quality or the product itself. I'm an engineer. I don't have any of the marketing answers.
We use Twilio with some of that since I have in previous occasions. It's just as good or better. It depends more on the endpoint and the camera that goes on their technology. The technology will handle that quite a bit better.
Yeah. And so this is probably a question that maybe Andrew might have more input on when you investigated these other options. I think
I would agree with what you said, just to kind of repeat that. I mean, we found it to be on par. I mean, the video quality, it was something that we talked to our customers, we validated with our customers, we kind of used it with them, and they were very impressed with the the video quality. And that wasn't the deciding point, but it was definitely on par. I mean, the more the deciding point was just how it was kind of interacting, how we could leverage it and build it into our application.
Yeah, and I think this slide is to answer that question. It wasn't just that one piece, like the video quality, because if you ask anybody, Zoom's video quality is really good.
Yeah.
It's all of the ticks. Did it check? How many boxes did it check? So as far as just video quality, I think we're on par or better than the other ones. I don't have stats or benchmarks to do that, but with the Zoom developer platform, I think we check more boxes.
So Andrew, why Zoom over, say, video? What was it with video that you didn't like that moved you to Zoom?
So the question is, why Zoom over, say, video?
Yeah, so I guess it really kind of nets out to that we were looking to, it was with the speed to market. And I just, there was a lot, with WebRTC, obviously, you have to build a lot. Video, you have to build a good amount. We just found that there was a lot of existing capabilities with Zoom, and plus the APIs that we could, like the questions you were diving into, how deep do we want to get to? That flexibility was there. In our phase one, we're able to do very simple things, just kind of like in kind of calling on certain capabilities that was within our workflow, our existing workflow that seemed pretty seamless, but then also what Press showed, additional things like the scheduling, and we want to kind of dive into more detail about kind of integrating the additional things our customers are asking for. We would be able to do that as well. So I think it was more of a speed to market that we saw we'd be able to get something quick and high quality to the market with Zoom, but then also have that flexibility to dive into to more details as well.
And I think with the other platforms, they would have had to build their own client.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I would say the other thing was the user experience itself.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you compare it with the links or GoToMeeting, at least based on what our customer base said, Zoom was a superior experience. So that was another decision maker.
I'm just thinking this through, so I don't have experience with it, but I would also say you've got to decide how much of a platform you want to build on.
That's right.
I could see using video successfully if you didn't really care about the overall platform, but I think we're just to give you an example, if you wanted your researchers to be able to use a green screen, if you want to have a bus with that just comes loaded into Zoom. So just as a real granular example, if you want to rely on the platform, then I think that's part of the decision. The video quality is pretty similar, I think, now among a lot of those guys.
Yeah, and it,
Platform capability is something fine into it.
yeah, and this slide is again pretty good to that question. It's the best of both. You get the client for free as a developer. You don't have to build that additional software if you want to go granular and use just APIs and stuff like that. But you have that option too with Zoom as well, with the SDKs and stuff. You can build your own client if you want to. So you can start off, UserZoom in a year may build their own client. I don't know.
We'll see.
Roadmap.
Have you seen any customers using Salesforce Lightning as a development environment?
What is it?
Salesforce Lightning?
I'm not familiar with Salesforce Lightning.
So most of the folks are using like Android and iOS, Ruby on Rails. I'm just trying to get a sense of
Of what people are building on,
Yeah.
platform-wise?
what are your typical.
I see a lot of questions in PHP, Ruby, Java, JavaScript. A lot of people want to do a lot of stuff just web-based, but it's really that client that gives you that rich experience. WebRTC was really only supported on iPhones a week ago, so it's still, it's great, but it's still infant in its
I
progress.
don't get the impression that Zoom is going to support WebRTC moving forward. It seems like the magic is in your client in some ways. The fact that you can now embed your client into a web interface, which no user.
Yeah, well, it just goes to support, right? So there's a huge matrix of if you're on Windows and using this browser, what works, so we've,
It's a browser quagmire,
yeah,
and it's not worth it.
yeah. So, I mean, if all of your users are on Android using the Chrome browser, then you're good to use WebRTC.
Yeah.
And now
That's the
iOS
point,
11
yeah.
supports WebRTC, so,
Yeah.
but I don't use Safari on my iPhone, I use Chrome, so, and I don't think WebRTC and Chrome on iPhone works. So it's like, it's a big hole to try and fill. But the concept is great. But to be 100%, it's not there yet. Even 90%. Any other questions? All right, thanks.
Thank you.